Welcome back, you beautiful souls. This is James, also known as the Oni Zerg. I've tried finding the OG artist on this. I did recently just saw the watermark on here, so I'll go through and zoom in and get like a tag of that person, and I will tag them in the next video because I don't like using someone's art that's not something that's from a stock shot, from like a stock video. And the ones that I do not like give credit to an artist, it comes from a stock photo website. And so with that being said, let's get into part 3 to what if Deku was a quirkless female. So in the last part, I mentioned that Izuka's mom, like Inko, had convinced her to actually go to a normal school instead of doing like an equivalency test. And so now this episode's going to go over the first 6 months, and she, like the next day, she called, like the day after she had the conversation with her mom and her mom convinced her, she called Katsuki up and was like, guess what, mom told me that she wants me to go to school, so I'm going to enroll in like this school. And Katsuki's like, that's awesome, like that's the school I go to. So what are we gonna do for like the break that's coming up? And Izuka's like, well, I planned on just going to like looking around town and maybe finding like a gym that I can work out and lift some weights and stuff. And Katsuki's like, Izuka, like, you sure you don't want to do some girl stuff? And Katsuki's like, and Izuka's like, Kachan, I'm not a girly girl like the rest of those bimbos. Like, I spent basically the past 9 years of my life doing some intensive training, and I quite actually like doing martial arts. It's fun. And Izuka's like, and if you ever call me a girly girl, I'm gonna deck you so hard I'm gonna put you in the hospital. And Katsuki responds like, you want to try that? You want to try that, little girl? And Izuka's like, oh, you just asked for it now. When I see you, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you, Kachan. So, and Inko kind of overhears this, and she's like, hey, Izuka, that's no way to speak to him like that. And Mitsuki's saying the same thing to Katsuki, and like both of them start laughing, and they kind of hear, because they heard like vice versa, Mitsuki and Inko saying this. And Izuka and Katsuki are like, so I guess we really are friends, right? And Izuka's like, yeah. So, like, have you thought about where you wanted to go to school for high school? And Katsuki's like, yeah, like once you mentioned UA, I was thinking, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool, because I was thinking about it, but isn't it going to be hard for you to get in without a quirk? And Izuka's like, yeah, like I thought about that, and I've done some serious training, so the next year and a half, I'm going to have to find a balance between school and training, and I'm going to have to really go at it with training. And Katsuki's like, well, maybe we can train together, because we never really got to finish that match. And so they make plans to meet up and hang out to like really catch up, because they only spent a couple of hours just talking about what had, like, briefly going over what had gone on, and they didn't really like hang out like they used to. Because, like, in canon, Izuku and Katsuki used to hang out at, like, friends and everything. Even when Katsuki didn't have his goons around, Izuku would hang out with Katsuki. So the same thing happened in this, where Izuka and him are like childhood friends, and they're going to spend the next year and a half training. And I'm going to do the whole 10 months training arc in its own video because there's a few special things I want to do during that. And that's going to be a whole video in of itself. So let's get back into our story. So they meet up, and in Koski, like before he leaves his house, Mitsuki's like, "You better be nice to her. Like you better treat her nice, Kotsky, and don't be a jerk to her like you were when you were kids." And Kotsky's like, "Mom, I know, I've already apologized about that. There's no reason to rub salt in the wound, okay? Like, I've been beating myself up about it. And, like, I really do hope, like, we can get back to being friends like we used to be." So Katsuki goes and meets up with Izuka, like, at the end of, like, the strait, because from what I saw in what I've seen in the anime and like in the manga, their parents' homes are relatively close. They're like a couple of blocks away from each other, or if not, on the other sides of like the district. So that being said, they meet up, and Katsuki is like, "So, you said that you wanted to check out some gyms." And Katsuki's like, "Well, I know of a couple. If you want to check them out, like, we can go and see if like they have anything." And so Izuki says, "Well, like, do you have gym clothes?" And Katsuki's like, "Well, that's what I brought in my backpack." And he looks at her and is like, "Well, aren't you going to be bringing anything as well?" And Izuka's like, "Oh, shoot, one moment." And basically, she starts running back to her house, and it's kind of surprises Katsuki because she's actually quite fast. And he's thinking, like, was that damn nerd holding back on me? And he's basically walking towards the house, and he goes, like, when she comes in, it's like, "Mom, I'm sorry, I forgot something." She runs up her stairs and comes running back down, and he goes, like, "Where are you heading to this fast?" And she's like, "Oh, me and Kachan, we're going to go, like, check out some gyms. Like, I need to find a place that I can really work out." And he goes just thinking, he's like, "Oh, she really hasn't changed." And so Izuka's like comes out, and by the time she gets to like the end of the she gets to like the front of the property, like Katsuki's walking up, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." And Katsuki's like, "It's fine, nerd. Like, were you holding back in our fight, in our spar?" And Izuka kind of looks at him, he's like, "You noticed, didn't you?" And Katsuki's like, "What, you think I'm too weak?" And he's like, "No, no, no, no. It's just, it, it's part of." And she kind of like grabs her side, and Katsuki's like, "Oh, okay. Well, if you don't have to talk about it, Izuka. Like, I understand." And so they go check out a few of the gyms, and like they visit a couple of them, and then they finally come to one that has like heavy weights, and all these all of these like weightlifters see Izuka like putting like these 45s on each side, and even Konski's like, he sees her like put two 45s on each side, and she kind of like lifts like the bar up just a little bit, standing behind of it, and it's like, more weight. And so she puts two more on, and then this starts catching everybody's attention. She lifts it up a little bit, and she's like, two more, that should be right. So that would be, so 270. So that would be like 270 pounds plus 45. That'd be 15 pounds. So she would have 645-pound weights on each side. And they do have like the kg, like a slash kg, which they have like the pounds and kilograms, because I do have a few international people that come to this gym, and to make things like easy on everyone, they have both like kilograms and pounds posted on all their weights and stuff. And Katsuki's like, Izuka, is that much that you warm up? And then Izuka kind of looks at him and is like, oh no, this is a warm up. And Yatsu's like, what the do you mean this is a warm up? And Izuku's like, oh, this is, I've been like, this was my max like 3 years ago. And Katsuki's like looking at her like, what the hell? And a few of the weightlifters like come over and like, little lady, isn't that going to be a little too much for you? And Izuka blinks her eyes, and her eyes change color, and they look, and she gives them like a death glare, like basically telling them to back the fuck up. And Katsuki notices this, and he's like, oh, so she doesn't like people saying she can't do something. Interesting. Like, he basically learns, like, so if I want her to go all out, I'm going to have to push her buttons a little bit. So she blinks her eyes again and like, goes back out of the release. And she basically lays down and just picks these things up. And, like, she's bench pressing, like, 315 pounds. Like it's nothing, and everyone in the gym just turns their head and they're like, what the hell? This little girl has a super strength quirk. And when she racks, she's like one of the guys comes up and she's like, I apologize, young girl, like I didn't know you had a super strength quirk. And Izuka's like, oh no, I don't have a super strength quirk, that's just been training. Like my whole life I've been training and lifting weights. And the gentleman's like, oh, that's crazy, like how are you so small? And Izuku's like, I guess good genes, I don't know. And she looks at Katsuki and it's like, your turn. And Katsuki's like, what? That's like my max, that's not a warm-up. And she's like, so you can't spot me? That's going to be a problem. Okay, I know what to do. And she turns to the gentleman and she's like, hey, do you know about like weighted clothing? And the gentleman looks at her and is like, what do you mean weighted clothing? And she's like, well, if he can't spot like that much weight, and that's his max, I kind of need to increase these. And she holds up her hands, and like there's weights and stuff. There's like her armbands, pointing at her armbands, and like her leggings, and like her work in like a vest she's wearing. And the gentleman realizes real quick, and he's like, wait, you're doing weighted clothing training on top of like lifting weights? And he's like, yeah, is that strange? And the gentleman's like, no, but like how much weight are you wearing? And Izuka's like, well, I think it's like 100 kg. split evenly amongst everything. And the guy's just looking at this, and he's like, you mean to tell me? You mean to tell me, young lady, that you just bench press 355 pounds practically? And she's like, yeah, is that so weird? And Jenny's like, I like you, kid. You got spunk. And all these big burly guys are just looking at this little girl. It's like, wow. Never would have thought someone your size would be able to lift that much. And she's like, well, this was just a warm-up set. This isn't even close to my max. And I actually don't know what my max is. But again, like, do you know where I can get heavier weights? Because these are the heaviest that I could find online. And the gentleman's like, so do you know what your max is? And she's like, I'm not quite sure. And gentleman's like, well, how about this? We do have a female's locker room over there, and so if you go get changed and everything and like take your weights off, I can spot you and we can find out what your max is. And then I can talk to the owner. He does have like weighted clothing. And so she goes and takes them off. She goes into the locker room, takes all the weighted gear off, and when she's coming out, she's like cracking her fingers and cracking her neck and kind of like twisting and everything. And she's like, whew, that feels way better. I can actually breathe. Whew. And the gentleman's like, so, we know you can do that. So what we're going to put you at 400. We're going to increase by 90 pounds each time. We're just going to keep putting on 45s until you start feeling strain. And this is where Kotsky kind of gets heavily emasculated. Because Izuku is going to basically make him shit a freaking brick when she starts lifting weights. And she's going to be she's going to get a name for herself at this gym. So she's sitting there, and so they put 90. So they put 445 on there, basically adding 2 more 45 pound weights to the side. And she lifts it 5 times. And they're like, okay, like, you think, can you go more? And she's like, yeah, definitely. So they put another 45 on each side, which brings it up to 535. She does 5 sets, and she's like, whew, that feels good. And she's like, more. And the guy, and she's like, how about you guys put another 180 on there? And so they put another 180, and the guy's looking down at her. You sure you can do this? And she basically pumps it out, and the guy is looking at this like, this girl is insane. And she pumps 5 more reps out, and then she's like, I think I may be able to do another 100. I may be able to do like another 180 pounds. So like they put 4 more 45s on the bar. So that brings the total up to 895 pounds, and she's able to do 3 reps, and she's like, okay, that was a little difficult. And she's like, I think I may only be able to do another 90 pounds. So they put another 45 on each side, and she does one rep, and then she goes to like do a second rep, and the dude catches it and lifts it up and racks it for her. And he kind of looks down at her, and he's like, "Little girl, you sure you don't have a super strength quirk? Because you're not, you don't have big muscles." And she's like, "Oh, my training with Grandpa, like he made me do something called like iron bone training." One moment, I am at work, and I just had a guest show up, so I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that interruption. I think where we last left off, Izuku had one moment. I've got to calculate this. So Izuka had just like bench pressed 985 pounds, which translates to about 447 kg. And the like Kotsky's just completely emasculated, and he's like, holy fuck. Because he's now thinking like she really went through it. And so she was explaining to the gentleman that her that her grandfather made her do some like weird training regiments where she she did something called like iron bone training and something about nerve ending training and muscular like iron muscle training. And this gentleman's looking down at her, and he's like, wait, those eyes, can you show me those eyes again that you showed off like a little bit ago? And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. And she basically blinks her eyes, and he shows her eyes, and is like, interesting. Well, young lady, like, turn them off, and you shouldn't be using that in public. And Izuka's like, oh my god, you, and the Jenny's like, don't worry about it. You said your grandfather trained you. What would his name happen to be? And Izuka's like, well, Grandpa doesn't want to be in the public, and he's like, his name wouldn't happen to be Hisoka, would it? And Izuka's like, wait, you know Grandpa? And Jun's like, I don't know him, but I'm familiar with him. I've had some run-ins with him a couple of times over the years. And he's one tough bastard. He's stronger than what he appears, and as far as I know, he doesn't have a quirk either. So, you're his granddaughter. How's old man Hisoka doing? And he's like, he's doing well. And then this is when Katsuki comes up, and he's like, wait, so your grandfather is the one that trained you, and Izuka, you sure you don't have, like, and you don't have a super strength quirk? You're just that strong? And she kind of smiled. She kind of smiles at him and is like, yeah, like, and he's like, so you really were holding back in our sparring match? And she's like, yeah, like, Grandpa promised me that I wouldn't hurt anyone too badly. And so Katsuki's like, wow, she's really tough. And he asks her, like, so were you faking getting hit? And she's like, oh no, you really caught me good. I was just I was kind of messing around and he caught me off guard. And if I wasn't able to block that, it could have did some serious damage. And he's just like, I realized like from the training that Grandpa did, and when I was sparring with some people that had quirks and stuff, I realized that I didn't have a quirk. So if I wanted to beat them, I would have to train. I would have to do some insane training. And Katsu's like, what do you mean? Izuka's like, well, I don't want to talk about it in front of everyone. But if you want to know, we can go somewhere and talk about it. And Izuku basically, like, everyone in the gym is just calling. So everyone in the gym is, like, starting to crowd around her, and they're acting like, whoa, like, do you have a quirk and everything? She's like, no, it's just training. And the gentleman's like, you guys, like, give the kid some room. She's a good kid. And he kind of looks around and he's like, and you also probably don't want to piss her grandfather off. And they're like, wait, who's her grandfather? And he's like, and the gentleman's like, the old man. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And they basically, like, as she goes and gets changed and puts, like, her weights back on and everything, she comes out and Katsuki's sitting there talking to the gentleman and asking about, like, the weight training, like weighted clothing and stuff like that. And the gentleman's like, so, young lady, you wanted to get some weights, and it seems like your max was probably about 1,000 pounds. So, and young Bakugo here says his max is like what you basically did when you warm up. So, if you guys can give us a couple of weeks, we could probably procure some weighted clothing for you two to train with. And so Katsuki is going to, like, start doing some training with, like, some minor weighted clothings, not to the extent that Izuka is going to be. And no, I'm not going to make Izuka like some buff chick, like some Amazonian type person. Because of the training that she did with her grandfather, and with the, like, her bones are denser, she's basically broken her bones over and over again, and, like, they've healed up, and because of her family lineage, she's healed way faster, and weird combination of genetics, she's, like, her muscle tissue's, like, way denser than the average person, like, she's kind of like on the small end of things, and her and Katsuki, like, on their way out of the gym, everyone's like, see you later, like, come back again, Tiny Dynamite, or come back again, Tiny Atlas. And it basically, like, everyone in the gym has, like, she's basically won over, like these big guys that are, like, power lifters and stuff, and they're thinking, it's like, whew. So basically what, like, Izuka is going to be doing in the series, everyone that sees and meets her is going to be getting pushed to where, like, they go and push themselves to their limit and breaks their limits after seeing somewhat what she can do. So I'm going to end this part here, because it is coming up on 30 minutes, and then in part 4 I'm going to go over Izuka getting into school and basically coming up to the start of the anime. So with that being said, thank you guys all for the likes and comments. And from what a few of my commenters have messaged me, they're like, yeah, definitely don't give like explaining to them like what she can actually do. They're like, yeah, like One for All wouldn't be a fit because how you set it up to where it would interfere and she would only be able to use either or. She wouldn't be able to use both congruently. So I won't be giving her One for All. So again, comment down below that who in Class 1A you would like to see get One for All. So I thank you for all the views, the support, and everything. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I will see you beautiful souls in the next video.